Hello guys, thank you for joining me here today, and today I am talking about the Bible. Yes, the Bible, and I thank you for joining me again. And I'm talking about, or rebuttaling, I should say, a guy called Saturn Rising. He was talking about the Bible and why it wasn't real, and he was trying to take it from, destroy it from within. So the first point he had was murder and genocide. So he talked about Noah's flood, and there was a whole reason, Nephilim, everything like that around Noah's flood. He talked about Lot. They were all unrighteous. They actually never thought good thoughts. They never had good thoughts in their minds. In fact, they were evil continually, just as Noah's flood was. And God had to wipe them off before they started to move on to the whole earth, before he had to send something else. He could never send a flood again. He said he would never, he'd never destroy the earth with water again. Partial times it's floods, that is not destroying the earth, that is destroying parts of the earth. If he was to use floods to destroy the whole of the earth, then that would be going against his word. But he did not say that I will never ever send a flood again. He said I'd never destroy the earth by water again. And anyway, he also talked about Canaanites, Jebusites, and I'm trying to get through it fast. You can go watch it if you want to. And Jebusites, Perizzites, and Canaanites, etc., etc. He was talking about all these kind of civilizations that Jews apparently killed it off. Well, there's evidence that they didn't kill them off, but there's also evidence that they were still Nephilim even after Noah's flood. If you want to get all this context as well, I can give you a couple. I'll give you a couple of people to go look down in the description. I am not going to give you any links. I'm just going to go and put down names. People you should listen to. Tom Horn. You should go listen to Tom Horn. You should go listen to Rob Skiba. If you want to listen to Nephilim, you can go listen to William Schnobelon or Bill Schnobelon. Stan Johnson. All these kind of people you'll hear this kind of stuff from. You just don't look in the right places. So that was part one. So next he talks about animal and human sacrifices. So did animal sacrifices happen? Yes, they happened a lot in the Bible, but he didn't understand that for God, number one, God needed to make the temple of heaven good again. There's a temple in heaven where Satan supposedly fell from, and where he committed his sin. So in that temple, he had to make that good again. He had to use animal blood. He didn't have blood up in heaven, so he had to use people blood. Oh, not people. That was bad. He had to use animal sacrifice blood, and he also had to use blood for the remission of sins. It's not hard to understand. It's really not. And you become a Christian and you understand it. It's not animal cruelty. In fact, these people who argue the fact God is cruel towards animals, that is completely untrue. In fact, he really only uses animals you would ever eat. He only kills animals you would eat, or back then you would eat, like doves or all that kind of stuff. Sorry, I just yawned. I know. He would only use that kind of stuff. He wouldn't use like an owl, or he would use a pig. Number one, that was a defilement. He couldn't use that stuff. He only really used sheep and goats and lambs and rams and all that kind of stuff. And poor people would use doves if they had to. So that's completely wrong. And then he goes on to human sacrifice, and I was like, citation please. And then he goes to cite afterwards, before I end the video, because I got really annoyed that he was getting good, and then he would twist the Bible and wouldn't bring context. And be like, and if you have ever had passion for something, when someone doesn't read something, especially a document, in context, you want to rip your hair out, and I could not afford to rip my hair out, so I just stopped the video and started recording. So He's talking about how there was human sacrifice, which was one human sacrifice, but he doesn't understand that God was a human sacrifice. That was the only ever human sacrifice that God ever permitted. He permitted himself as a human to be sacrificed. Oh, but he permitted his son to be sacrificed. Technically, yes, but also no. See, with Christianity, you've got to understand that God is three persons. So he was his. If you understand this, and I know it's hard to get around, he was his own son. That was it. And I know it is hard to get around. It's weird and it's creepy and it's just not normal. But I mean, we're seeing stuff that isn't normal now. We're seeing people start making chimeras and hybrids and all this kind of stuff, and there is a big difference. A chimera is actually their characteristics being formed into each other. A hybrid is maybe just a personality trait that's different. That's the same as another animal's personality trait that has been purposely put there from the animal. Like, yeah. Anyway, we'll keep going on. Torture. See, I know where he went with this, and as soon as he said torture, I'm like, yeah, how, whatever. So God gives you a choice to live 80 years on earth, and live however you want to, and to spend all eternity in hell or heaven. So if you want to live for Him, He'll give you heaven. If you want to live for yourself, He'll give you hell. That's simple. So God cannot make something not exist anymore. If it is a spirit, trust me, He can't. It's like if you make a breath, that breath is out there forever. You can't destroy that breath. Even if you suck it back in, you're going to breathe it back out. Suck it back in, you're going to, right? So that breath is now out there forever. That breath is out there forever. You cannot ever destroy that breath. It's still out there. You may be able to breathe back in. You know, I breathe that straight back in. But you cannot destroy that breath. It's still your breath. You know. So God cannot, I should say, destroy His own breath. We are His breath. He can kill a body. A body's not hard. It's in the body into hell, which He's trying to do. The old body, I reckon, is going to send in hell. But anyway, let's keep going. So He cannot send you to heaven if you're living for yourself, because by your action of not believing, you have chosen you don't want to be in heaven. If you wanted to be in heaven, you would have some kind of religion, right? But you don't want to even be in heaven because you don't even have a religion. Now, in saying that, Muslims don't want to be in a Christian heaven. Obviously, Christians don't want to be in a Muslim heaven. So if I'm wrong, which I'm not, but if I am wrong, just say on the fictional idea that I am wrong, with my beliefs in, it's actually Muslims who are right. I'd be happy to go hell rather than heaven. I really would be. I'm happy to take my whole life and take my to sacrifice my whole life for Jesus because I believe in Jesus and go to hell. I really would be. I might not like Jesus afterwards. Obviously, after maybe 1,000 years, I might start actually hating him. But that's only if you lie to me about himself, obviously. But in saying that, I'm not wrong. I am perfectly correct, and there is heaps of evidence to back that up, not just biblical evidence. Okay, we'll keep going. So, given a little bit of a allegorical standard, a parable. Okay, give it a parable. I'll give it a parable. So, a man was in a theater. The theater caught on fire. Jesus came into the theater, and there was one door. It was locked, and Jesus said, "Here's the key." The man said, "Look, I'm trying to find the exit. Leave me alone." And Jesus said, No, take the key to escape this fire. And the man said, shut up, I do not want the key. I need to find a way out. And the Lord said again, son, take the key. Take it and escape. Jesus, I don't want the key. I'm trying to find a way out. Then Jesus screams. Take the key and you'll be safe. And you scream at him at the top of your lungs, Jesus, I do not want that stupid key. And then you spit in his face. And then you die because you did not listen to Jesus. So in that way, you send yourself to hell. And Jesus is praying for you. You are torturing yourself, unlike what he says. He says Jesus is torturing you or threatening torture on you. In fact, you are promising torture on yourself because you will not take the way out of torture. He's giving you the way out of torture. He says, here's the way to torture. Stay in here. And here's the way out of torture. There's a door over there. Take the key. I don't want the key. Take the key or you're going to go to hell. Simple. It's not hard. So you are torturing yourself. That is what's happening. It's not Jesus torturing you. It's you torturing you. In fact, it's you torturing Jesus. So, I'm just going to quickly do the next couple quickly because the next couple really aren't the most smart ones. Okay, so child abuse. I'm really struggling on that one. He throughout the whole thing, he doesn't explain how God promotes child abuse. I really need citation here. And abuse. Again, I need citation. Fifth, citation, please. Slavery. Okay, so this one is actually in the Bible, the slavery, and people would refute the Bible because of slavery. But you've got to understand, slavery was a lot different than 1923. Slavery 800 years ago, about 2,500 years ago, was a lot different than 1923. Okay? Please go read up on the Bible about slavery, because slavery in the Bible was either a debt owed to a person, so it was services to a person, so you didn't have to pay them, because you didn't have the money, so you slaved yourself away and gave your services. And after 7 years, they had to give you back, or give you the chance to leave, by the way, I'm just saying. After 7 years, they had to give you the chance to leave. And if they didn't, then that was against the law. And I don't know what happened to them, actually, if they didn't. But there was a punishment. It could have been that they had to pay you 500 shekels or something like that. I'm not too sure. Or slavery was a choice. Some people, see, before the Skiba, it was they had to give you the chance to leave. After you paid your debt, they had to give you the chance to leave. And if you didn't want to leave, they would have to take you to the high priest or to a court, and they would have to have you as a person state, I want to be enslaved to this person. They literally had to take you to the court, and you had to say it from your mouth. It was a lot different than 1923. Again, I encourage you to go read up on it, because it was. Another one, not he brought up, I'm just going to say it though, that annoys me is misogyny. People go that God is misogynistic and he hates women and that kind of stuff. No, you've got to understand, as a Christian, man, I was troubled by this. I was like, God's misogynistic and everything like that. And I understood. God's not misogynistic. He just has different positions for each sex. He never says one's better than the other. In fact, he never says he values one better than the other. He just says there is different positions in life for each sex. A woman is the one to stay at home, make meals and everything. And that is not misogynistic, by the way. It's just a position in life you have. If you don't want to fulfill their position, that's your choice. But don't torture a man by making him feel like he's misogynistic for not going out with you because he wants to have that kind of family. Because that's the family I want. And a woman will stay home, do the dinner and things like that, work throughout the day by taking care of the kids and cooking dinner and cleaning the house. And me go out and work all day doing other kind of stuff like programming or being president or prime minister, that kind of stuff. Alright, next one. Rape. It talks about rape in the Bible, it really does. But it doesn't ever allow for rape. The one thing I am proud of him for not bringing up is I can't even think of it. I can't think of it now. And basically having more than one wife. He even bring this up, and I think I know why, because he understands that that was just a recording of what was happening. But next is pedophilia, please. Again, citation needed. Incest. This happens whether you're a Christian, Buddhist, a Muslim, an atheist, an Hindu. It happens because you need to make a race. Cannibalism, again, citation needed. Betrayal, citation needed. And lying is needed citations. So, he says in there about the flood. He says he should have been powerful enough, and if he's all-knowing, he would have known that the flood would have had to happen. And I agree with this. Absolutely, he knew the flood was going to happen, and it was free will for it to happen as well. It was man's free will. He had to give the chance of free will. If he didn't put the tree there, he would have been evil because he would have been a dictator, telling you, you have to love me. And he's not like that. He gives you the choice to love him or to hate him. And Adam chose not to love him. Afterwards, he chose to love him, but at that time, he chose to pursue his own interests, and God had to give him that choice. Otherwise, God would have been the evil one. He's not evil. It's that simple. And he also brings up that he destroys blameless. And it says in the Bible he does destroy blameless, or kill blameless people. Innocent blood is spilled. However, the blameless actually go to heaven. And, well, I mean, never mind. I don't expect you to understand, because your mind can only expand to the roof, especially with biblical thinking. Can only expand so high. But mine is just, I can understand God because I allow myself to understand God, but you won't. You'll sit there and take stuff out of context just so you don't have to believe in a God, and it's ridiculous. And he brings up also how God kills kids with barrow. And I mean, like, people go, it's a cheap jab, and we go, oh, what about immorals? What about someone who's raped? And they go, well, that was a cheap jab. This is kind of a cheap jab. But I can explain it, and I can explain it better than you can. So kids who die, God feels like he can do this. Because kids who die before 13 are saved by default. That is, if they are if they're not Nephilim, and a Nephilim will not go to heaven, it will go to hell. And that's not God's fault. The Nephilim are soulless. Any soulless being has got to go to hell. It's impossible for them to go to heaven. Any hybrid, any chimera has to go to hell. It's not God's choice. He can't put them in heaven, because they would just sin. In fact, there's an idea that, which I believe completely, that Nephilim, when they die, become demons. Goliath is a demon. Jezebel. Well, Jezebel. Jezebel spirit. Um, um, the Hercules demon. Zeus demon. It's not difficult, guys. I mean, if you want to learn more about this, I'd love to talk more about it, but I mean, I have to at least introduce you to it. And like I said before, did God kill his own son? Yes and no. The only sacrifice of human life was God. So yes, he killed his own son, but you have to remember, his own son is him. He chose to die himself for our sins. He didn't kill a son that wasn't him. He was his own son. And again, it's hard to explain and hard to understand, but that's the only way to explain it, and it's the only way to understand it. He was his own son. And he died for our sins. And then he goes on to talk about this guy goes on to talk about Isaac Isaac. He goes on to talk about Isaac, and he says how Isaac, that's child abuse because he took Isaac and held a knife to his head. But you got to realize that Isaac knew he wasn't going to die. In fact, it says in the Bible how Abraham was preparing his men for both of them to come down. Isaac was around when Abraham was telling his men that prepare this when we get down. When we get down, not when I come back down, when we come back down from Mount Moriah. But that guy left the part out. I mean, I guess for dramatic effect, right? I mean, I might be wrong, but I'd say it's more for dramatic effect. So I think I'm about done. I got about 16 minutes, and then he was just twisting the Bible and leaving facts out, and saying that animals and people were either were tortured because God is evil and everything. And the fact is that animals and people were either evil or Nephilim. But I just hope that you have enjoyed this. And the original video isn't in the description. It is from this guy called Saturn Rising. And I'll see you next time. But until then, stay safe, and as always, Jesus is good. Amen.